The AMX 1357 Grand Finals. School bus here. This is probably my favorite light tank to play in the game. I'm not saying it's the best, I'm just saying I enjoy it a lot. Now if you have been around the game for a while, you remember back when the light tanks got adjusted and basically everything got brought down a tier to make room for the tier 10 light tanks, and the thing about it was the premium tanks didn't get moved. Now I had owned this for better than a year before that happened, but what ended up taking place was that the premium tanks didn't get moved. So it maintained its tier 7 status, but it also maintained all of its existing stats. And the way light tanks used to work was that you basically were treated as if you were one battle tier higher. So if you were a tier 7 tank, you would see anything from tier 6 up through tier 10. And that changed. Now this thing only sees the usual tier 5 up through tier 9. Obviously, that gives it a bit of an advantage along with the other premium light tanks. But for me, this tank, or really any light tank, on Prokorovka, the quintessential great light tank map, it's just a lot of fun. There's lots of things to do here in Prokorovka. You can go camp a bush, like I am here, get lots of spotting. I highly recommend this particular bush up on this hill because you'll notice I'm able to spot that T-25 over on the rails, but I'm also able to spot the guys that are up on the hill. The only tricky thing here is you do need to make sure they left that little gap there in the fence. You want to go through that gap and not knock down any of the fence, because if Artie is on the other team, those artillery players will notice you knock down the fence, assuming that they're good artillery players, and they will start blind firing this bush and you will die or lose a lot of hit points. At any rate, it's a great spot. You also get pretty good spotting out into the field on the other side of the rails, out to the west. It's a great spot. Also in Prokorovka, you can go do some ridge surfing and get lots of spotting points that way, and you'll see some of that going on with the other team's players in this game. But as I tend to do now with my Ace Tanker videos, and if you've been around this channel for a while, I've actually done several, I don't even know how many, Ace Tanker videos in this tank, but each one has a bit of a lesson. I'm not sure what the lesson here is, to be honest, but what I don't think I've ever had the chance to do before was to talk about some of the history of the AMX 13-ton tanks. There were a lot of variants of these, and the 1357 itself actually was a prototype. It was not one of the production variants. Almost all of the production variants, actually, I'll say almost all of the production variants featured 75mm guns, 90mm guns, or the 105. And interesting bit of trivia, the 105 was only used by the Argentinian army and the Netherlands. So if you've ever doubted whether the tier 10 13105 was actually something real or was it something that Wargaming dreamed up, nope, it was real. But most were 75 and 90mm variants. And another interesting bit of trivia was that the original AMX 13, or some of the initial variants of it, used the turret off of the M24 Chaffee. Thought that was kind of interesting. But the AMX 13-ton tank was used by a lot of different nations. It was internationally one of the go-to light tanks, and it's not a big surprise. I mean, you had a great light tank that featured an autoloader, and actually in the game it's been nerfed a bit. And I don't know, maybe to answer the struggle with overpowered Russian tanks, maybe they should just go ahead and allow this to happen in the game. That in the game we're used to the 4-shot, 6-shot, in this case 8-round clip in the autoloader. Well, the real ones, you loaded them up with dozens of shells and they could fire them. Now you had to get out of the tank to load it, but can you imagine that? What if you spent a minute reloading and you had at your disposal maybe 18 to 24 shells? That'd be pretty awesome. And I'm guessing you could probably take down an IS-3 pretty well with that. Maybe even a 430. I don't know. I'm just thinking. The statistic I'll leave you with on it is that it could go up a 60% grade and it could also maintain its composure on a 60% side hill. Go out and do that in your pickup truck or even sedan tomorrow and see what that feels like. Alright, now we get back into the game here. As you saw, I started out pushing on the east side. Once I felt confident that I could move up and get aggressive, I did, and well, it played out pretty well. You typically don't want to do that until you've got good support, and then once you do it, you jump over here to the other side and you have your way with the artillery. What's particularly commendable about this artillery, they started to get aggressive with me, and I like that. I like that in Arty. Usually when I do that maneuver, there's pretty much no life going on there. And the one remaining artillery piece just fired at me, and I'm really trying to make a beeline over here to see if I can get the ace tanker. I'm sitting here on 5 kills. It would be great. And I was hoping that the team would let me do it, but to no avail. I think Arty actually got the kill. So a bit of a shame there, but hey, it was a great game. So looking at the battle statistics at the end, pretty good loadout here of medals. Pretty happy with that. The Pascucci's. It did give me Top Gun because I got a lot of damage done. A real good result. I can't complain about it. I don't have a whole lot else to say. But if you get the chance to pick up the 1357 and you like light tanks, I would highly recommend it. I think this is a fun one to have, and as you just saw in my Even 90 video, I think the Even 90 is another fun one to have. Very different tanks, but both a lot of fun. So if you enjoyed this video, hit the like button. If you like the channel, subscribe. Please tell your friends, forward the links around. That would be awesome because all of you know more people than I do. So thanks for watching. Have a great weekend if you're watching this on a weekend. If you're watching it during the week, well, look forward to the weekend.